Damn, this is great.
So that's Strange, which is garlic icing times the 1.
Okay. Yeah, this is awesome. Good job. Did you see the donuts out there?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, good. Don't eat those things.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, dude.
Look at this guy now. He ain't eating
I know.
donuts.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
So it's Skywalker times the 1.
yeah, it's nice. Good job. Yeah, man. It's been like a year since I've had a donut.
Really?
Oh,
Like-
no, you eat one, bro, I'm going to eat that whole box.
Well, dude, it sounds like a great idea in the beginning. Like you're like, oh, I could have a donut. And then right after you're done eating it, you're like, why did I do that? I feel like garbage.
Yeah.
So you had a complete transformation.
100%.
Dude, what, like you now and you what, a year ago? Or
Yeah,
2 years
let's
ago?
call it 8 months.
8 months.
8 months.
What, dude, I walked up to you at MJ BizCon and I was like, what the heck happened to Mike?
Yeah.
Well, 8 months ago, I was barely walking. Right. And, work was getting harder because, we grind so hard, and just my mentality, I was getting depressed, and I'm not really a depressant person, but I was getting depressed. My depression is me laying in bed eating a gallon of ice cream. Right. So, just my body was shutting down. I was in the Marine Corps, so my knees were shot, my shoulders were gone, my neck was jacked up. And I've been hearing about stem cells. And then one of my favorite surfers, Shane Dorian, he went to CPI in Tijuana, and he came back, and I was following his stuff, and I actually DM'd him, and he hit me back. He's like, yeah, man, I'm 3 months, but I'm already feeling pretty amazing. And I'm like, okay. So I talked with my wife. I found out how much it was. And, it was basically my savings that I had. And I'm like, I just can't keep living like this. Like I don't know if you know my story, but my dad shot himself in the head in front of me, because my dad was an oil field worker, tough, swole, tattooed head to toe, never missed work. And then when his body started breaking down, he just
Got depressed.
And I'm like, at first, I was like, dude, I don't like, for me, I could never go that route because I feel like he gave up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but he survived when he shot himself. But from that, he was 230 yoked up to one eye, 140
He survived.
pounds. Yeah.
And he lived the rest of his life that.
It wasn't the most joyful thing, So basically what happened was my dad was an alcoholic, right? And so growing up was, getting fucked up, doing all this. I ran away all the time. Like, I played baseball. If the team lost, I'm on restriction because they didn't win. You know what I mean? And I would leave all the time. And then he would just, I had to leave. So when I left home, and, a family took me because he put a gun to me. And so I left, right? So.
How old were you when you were leaving like that?
16.
Yeah.
Like going into my senior year in high school. And the last time when he put the gun to me, I left home, and a family that moved from Compton was out in Orange County, and their mom took me in, right?
Like he would point a gun at you or something?
Yeah, he pointed a gun at me, right?
Just like what, threatening you or something?
Yeah. So he would choke me out with jump ropes, because I'm sure I'm sure
just a Tuesday,
Yeah. But, growing up, he was an alcoholic. So, coming out of the oil fields, he worked on Seal Beach oil rigs. And so when he would come off of work, he would go to the bar, and when he get home, it just wasn't like the fatherhood that you would think. And then he would just get angry. And it's probably because I was probably a punk ass kid too, that would just trigger him. But because of the alcohol and the pills or whatever he was on, he'd just go out. Like, he would come home and we'd hide, and just he would shoot all the windows out the house. You know what I mean? And be like,
shoot the windows out of the house.
Yeah. And then we're hiding in the back. We'd have to have a thing over the door, the cleat, so they couldn't get through the door. Right. And he'd be like, fuck. I mean, every time he'd shoot, he'd be like, I hope it's him. I hope it's him. You know what I mean? You're just like, bro. And then we'd have to run to the neighbors. And then finally, I was running away since I was 8. You know what I mean? Run away, come back, run away. And I would house hop all over the place. So finally, when I was 16 going on to 17, my senior, I think it was 17. So, because I was going to my senior year, the family that took me in, they moved out from Compton. And so I just fuck it, I'm over it, dude. So I started staying with them. And then I used to go to Compton. So imagine a white boy surfer kid now going to Compton.
Yeah.
And my whole transformation started happening of now I'm going to become, because they're like, everybody would say, you can't hang out in Compton. Like, I'm like, don't tell me what the fuck I can't do. You know what I mean? Like, so I started enjoying that street life, right? And especially being the only white boy there, the street life, I had to, adapt.
Yeah.
And
you stood out.
Right. And the cool thing was I got really accepted in that neighborhood. And it's a big part of my life. The good, the bad, all that stuff. But there was so much positivity and stuff that I learned the hustle game. I have an extended family that took me in. Like my older brother, he works in this game with me, and then, so
not your real older brother.
No, my play brother.
Yeah. Your street brother.
Yeah. And so, so that all transferred into that. And then I was getting into some trouble. So then I was like, I'm going to the Marine Corps. Right. So I went into the Marine Corps, and that didn't start off great because taking a kid from the streets and then having people try to tell you what to do, it didn't really adjust very well with me. And so that transformation. So with that, my dad now got sober. Right. So
what do you think, where do you think it stemmed from your dad? Because I think a lot of who you are today has how you handled your past.
Yes.
Right. Where do you think it kind of stemmed from, all those challenges that he was going through as an adult?
I just think, I think his childhood was jacked up. Is that what you're asking me? Yeah. So his mother, like, back in the 40s and stuff, I think he was born in 43 or 42. And, dude, he went through electric shock therapy on his brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and he left at home, and he, alcoholism and that. And then when you're in the oil field, injury, but in those days you get injured, you go to work and you don't complain about it. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't matter. So, and then I just don't think, and his father died when his dad was 45. So I don't think he really knew his father that much. And so, but to me, I love being a father. Like, that's everything to me.
Yeah.
And so I learned what not to do, like.
I see that in some individuals that they'll grow up with a situation like yours and they'll use that as what not to do, but others don't do that. They do the opposite.
Right.
So I think it just depends on the personality.
The same, they bring the same, what do you call it? The same progress, the same situation they were in.
Same habits.
Yeah, the same habits.
Like,
and it doesn't work. Like, especially nowadays, like all our parents all went off to the same playbook. You eat dinner at the table, you go to sleep by 8, you go to, all these things. And I'm just not that. I treat so with growing and raising kids are the same. If you treat your plants like you treat your kids, if you spend the time with your kids are going to be successful. If you treat the time with the plants every day, they're going to be successful.
Yeah.
Because they're living things, right? So that's how I look at growing, is the same thing I look at fatherhood. If I don't spend no time with my kids and stuff, like, they're going to let the whatever environment take over.
Yeah.
So every time we walk into a room, it's like, oh, okay, kids are here. What are we going to do? What's going on with them? Because as a father, you'll see especially when your kids get older, dude, they fucking change daily. And you have to adjust daily. There's no program. There's no right or wrong. You have to be able to adjust. If you don't, then some of those same actions are going to happen that happened to us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, going from the Marine Corps and then my dad, and then when I got out the Marine Corps, kind of went back to the streets again. Right. And then I met my wife, and she changed my life. Right. I'm like, oh, dude, this chick's too bad. I got to fucking change up and start getting my shit together.
Yeah. The same thing happened with me. I was kind of running ragged for a long time, and then I met my wife and cleaned it up big time.
Yeah, it was game over. Dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm not going to find anybody better than, what I got here. And so now it's, create the life, so we were married 5 years before we even had kids. But unfortunately for her, my dad loved, so I'm going to give my dad props on this. My dad was non-racist at all, ever. Like he told me, respect everyone until they disrespect you. And if they disrespect you, then you just don't fuck with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it. It doesn't matter who they are, what they are. And I think we've lost that. You know, everybody's like this judgment, single out societies like, you know, I'm a vegan, but I eat fish on this side, you know, and I hate this person because he does, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's how we're built. But I love meeting people and no judgments, you know?
Yeah.
And so when we got married, so fast forward a little bit, but you know, we're 2 years married in, and my mom called me, was like, hey, your dad's back drinking. You need to come to the house. And so I go, okay. Because I was always the one they call, you know, because like, you know, remember 2000, everybody thought the computers were going to shut down and shit like that. I'm like, hey, Dad, I need a gun, you know, because I need to get one just for the house. And dude, the fucker accidentally didn't check the chamber and shot through his thumb, into his chest, out his chest, right? And then he hates doctors.
Is this before or after he shot? Before,
right?
Yeah.
So before, so now he knows I'm coming over, and so he takes off. He gets a fucking Q-tip with Neosporin going through the fucking hole. He's like, yeah, I'm good. You know, like this is the shit. And then like, I mean, he did some crazy shit. He tried to do suicide by cop. You know what I mean? Like he would safety pin fucking letters on. I mean, it was a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? But now as a friend, everybody loved him. Dude, your dad's the fucking greatest. Like, I'm like, yeah, okay, live with him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, I had to start telling people, like, bro, it's not all, he's a great friend. Cool. You know? And I learned that because he was a good friend. Yeah. You know?
You guys are really great friends, right?
Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
Fishing.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that how you guys met Ivan too?
Yeah.
Yep.
You guys met in fishing.
Yeah.
And you were already growing.
Yes.
So you knew who he was, obviously.
Oh, 100%. So, I mean, you want to tell the story because you tell that story pretty good, Bonds.
Yeah, I started a fishing clothing company, kind of for fun, you know, and we started to sponsor like, you know, kind of like kids, and then we were fishing these little events, and every event that you fished, you're just going for second place because Mike and Scotty are fishing the event and they're taking it.
You guys rocked it.
Yeah, we like. We did really well. And it's the same thing with anything because we put the time in. We were fishing 3 days a week. Like I knew exactly what these fish were doing all the time.
Yeah. So but I was really like, I don't nearly have the competitive edge that this guy does. I want to win, but when I was fishing those events, I was really doing it for fun. And we just had a small company called Bass Knuckles Clothing, and we were sponsoring a couple people from it. And Mike came to me and he's like, hey, look, I like the gear, you know, like I remember he came over to my house one night and I was like, dude, I'd be pumped for you guys to wear it. You know, you guys are the best in the game, you know? And he goes, well, before we even do any of that, let me take you fishing. I'm like, all right. And calico bass fishing, you're fishing. So the problem with calico bass fishing, you got to get 65 miles to San Clemente Island. But once you get there, you got to fish in 2 feet of water.
Yeah.
So you need a boat that can fish in 2 feet of water, but that boat doesn't get you 65 miles across the Pacific very easily, you know? So we, usually the mornings are fine, you know, but once that afternoon wind kicks up, you have some nice, like 4 or 5 hour rides home. Mm-hmm. But these guys fish a whole different way, you know, and they fish in the wave zone, inside the waves. They point the boat outward, you know, and one guy sits and watches on the helm and one guy fishes. And when that wave comes,
you just gas out of it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but you don't gas it. You know, it's like a surfboard. So you got to gas into it as fast as you can. And then Mike taught me this.
Slow down so that you don't just launch.
You know, and then neutral it, and it'll take you just real nice and gently up and over. But most people gas out of it and kill them, you know, flip their boats, do crazy stuff.
Is that where the best fishing is right there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the giants. They
that wave
that
hits, it stirs up crabs and fish, and, you know, then the calico bass come out and eat them, you know. So they want that turbulent, crazy water. Mm. And so, yeah, my first day with these guys was a little scary. And
So we already knew that he was a little timid about it, you know. And there was this wave that breaks off on Northwest Harbor, and so a set comes in. I'm all, hey Scotty, watch this, and I pull the boat onto the wave. I'm like, hey, Bone, look behind you, and it's just fucking.
We were surfing in a 25-foot boat down the wave.
And he's like, oh my God. But we had the raddest fishing day ever. And then so that just kicked it off, you know, and so I didn't grow at the time. And I didn't know Bones grew at the time.
Oh, so you were the first one that was growing.
Yeah.
Bones been in the game since high school.
Yeah.
You know.
And you got Mike into growing.
Yeah. So I owned Bass Knuckles, and, you know, that was just a fun project. But you know, back then you were quiet. This is 2012.
Yeah,
maybe?
probably 2011, 2012.
You know, I've been growing since probably 99. And I, you know, but you didn't tell anybody anything, especially in the fishing
Especially
industry.
back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
That's when I started about growing, about 2010.
2010
like yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I got my first dispensary in 07. That lasted 3 days.
Well, why?
I
Got shut down?
Yeah. I set up a dispensary in Glendora on, I forget the street name, but my buddy came to me and he's like, you know, hey, I got this spot, you know, it's ready for a dispensary. And I, you know, I wanted to sell my weed legally. You know, that was always the goal. And I go, that's rad. So you know, you're growing Oj back then, only Oj. And I finished a great crop, I think 20 pounds.
That original SFVOG?
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it.
And so I get 20 packs of it. And my buddy, he goes, he's still in the industry now. He actually owns a big vape company. But he goes, you know, I got this spot, but I don't have money to build it out. And I took that whole 20-pound harvest, you know, at $4,500 a pound, and I handed it to him. And I go, let's start it. And this was huge for me at the time. You know, I mean, it's still, you know, it's a lot of money. And so we go in there, we build this whole oak, you know, med counter, handicap accessible, like really nice. We build this place out, travertine the bathrooms. We do this place really nice. And day one, saw like 30 people. Day two, saw like 100.
Damn.
Day three, we're like 75 people into the day, like halfway through the day, we're like, hell yeah. And then knock, knock, knock. And I look at the cameras and I see the whole SWAT team outside.
Dude, they were on you quick.
And everybody was like, well, it gets good here. So so everybody's freaking out, you know, do we run out the back door? Like, where do we go? And I go, no, just give me a second, you know? And I walk to the front door and there's a lady in a like suit top. And she goes, hey, we just wanted to welcome you to the city of Glendora and let you know that if you were still here tomorrow, we're not going to knock. And I was like, okay.
That was nice of them.
Yeah, I turned around, walked back in. I'm like, well, we're out of business. And so then I left there, you know, and pretty bummed out. But I wanted to do this now. I saw the potential of this, you know, and I wanted to help people. You know, back then it was unbelievable to watch people walk in and smoke, you know, when they had problems and be able to eat and be able to function and be able to, you know, live their life normally. So it meant a lot to me. And so, yeah, I went to a lawyer in LA, and back then there was pre-ICO dispensaries. There was 187 of them. And he said I wanted to do it right. So I said, how do I do this right? He said, the only way you can do this right is to buy one of those. And I was like, well, if there's only 187 of them, how am I going to, you know, get one? And he goes, well, there's got to be a bad businessman out there. And I found that bad businessman, and I bought the 187th license, and I ran it for 3 or 4 years, and still got rated at the end. And
even pre-IC, even with that license, you got rated.
Yeah, we were paying all our taxes. We were doing, you know, everything right. Board of Equalization was coming through the place. It was as legit as could be back then, and didn't matter. 4/20, 2012, they raided the place, arrested everybody, and told us, you know, like, and we were doing really good. We were the #1 dispensary probably in the San Fernando Valley at the time. 400 to 500 people a day on average, like 700 to 800 on weekends.
Doing it.
Yeah, And they were pretty, back then you got raided, you opened back up the next day. You had to. And they were pretty clear with us and scared us good enough that we didn't. And they said, if we see you in this building again, ever, we're going to arrest you every single time. So we didn't go back there for 2 months. And then me and my partner, Mac, were like talking one day and we go, hey, we got to end the lease. We got to get our stuff out of there, and he goes, I'm going to go back in there. He goes, I'm going to clean the place out. And we did sneak back in there the night after because we had a 20 lighter next door that they didn't find. Mm-hmm. And so we snuck back in there. We had a bunch of weed hanging. We got that out. And then, but then, we just stayed away. No more open dispensary. We're done. We're out of business. He goes back in there 2 months later, middle of the day with a couple guys, just to clean up, get out, give it back to the landlord. And he calls me like an hour after he was there. And he goes, hey, I'm looking through the people. There's 12 black and whites out front.
Like that?
An hour. We hadn't been there in 2 months.
They must have had something on the building or something on the door.
Some kind of, or just, told the black and white, if you see any movement in this building, arrest them. And they came back and arrested us for all the moldy edibles that they left there.
They left them there?
They left them the first raid.
Okay.
And we went there to clean up.
And then they got...
And then all those moldy edibles that were left from the first raid, they arrested and felony charges.
What's interesting is what you said, I just want to do it right.
Yep.
And I think if you talk to 95% of the cannabis community, they'll tell you the exact same thing. We just want to do it right. We just want to pay our taxes. We just want to have employees. We want to do it right. And through that entire time, they were preventing you, us, everybody from actually doing it right.
Yep. And everybody was a snake. Like our accountant back then, we were doing a lot of money and we wanted to pay our taxes. We wanted to pay everything,
Yeah,
proper.
you just want a legitimate business.
And so we were giving, I think, $275,000 a quarter to our accountant to pay our taxes. And about 2 months before the raid, the Board of Equalization walks in and they look up at our seller's permit. They call me, they call my partner out and they go, hey, this is fake.
The BOE license?
Yeah. And we're like, no, it's not. We pay you guys $275,000 a month. And my partner, he's not arguing. He's letting them know what we do. And like, look, I can show you record. Our accountant set up a fake seller's permit and was taking that money from us every month or every quarter.
That's why they raided you.
And they said, so they dropped the fee. They dropped everything, right? Because he has over 50 cases that are identical to this. The guy's making millions of dollars doing this. He's still in business today.
Did anybody file civil or criminal?
Everybody.
Criminal and civil.
We had to get out of it. And
you know what? I had something like this happen with an accountant that was at my hydroponics store. And, guys, I came up, I didn't go to college and just came up through the streets, opened a hydro shop, lived there for 4 years in the back room, and just slowly built a business by working it every day. Just like you said earlier, you got to put the time in.
Yep.
And had an accountant embezzle $800,000 in the account because you're just running the shop. You're running every day, handling 17 employees, all this stuff going on, and you think you're doing everything right. And I filed with the sheriffs, on the embezzlement, and they don't do anything. You know why? Because we're in cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care.
Yep.
They're like, oh, you get what you deserve. I'm a hydro shop. I don't even do plant touching.
Yep.
And they did nothing. They just left the case and did nothing, and she embezzled all this money. Is that similar to what kind of happened?
Identical. Did you have bank problems with your hydro shop?
Yeah, I had bank problems for sure.
Yeah.
It was constant.
That was wild to me because in the dispensary, we get it. You had to open, a nonprofit mutual benefit corp.
Yeah, 501(c).
And then we, my partners in that was really, really smart, and he kind of just followed Red Cross. So they opened a like a management corp that manages the mutual, the nonprofit, and that's how you can put money in the bank and pay your employees and do all these things. But they still, in the dispensary, they just shut you down all the time. But that's kind of expected. But in the hydroponic, I got into the hydroponic business as well.
You did?
For like a year. Yeah.
Where would you open a shop?
In Brea, the wrong place.
Okay.
Yeah, in a town that nobody would come to the hydro shop.
Yeah.
And I
you can't be in like that nice of areas if you want to open a hydro shop. You kind of got to be in the.
I had a really good guy, so I don't know. Do you know All Seasons Hydroponics?
Yeah, Gary.
So Gary's my good friend.
Gary, Corey.
I shopped with him for years, so
Gary's
I went to
people.
him, and I was really like going through. I was hot, in the San Fernando Valley. I was, catching a lot of heat. I had a ton of houses growing. Everything started to get hit, like one after another. So I went to Gary and I go, hey man, I want to settle down for a couple of years, retire and get out of this town. I need to. And so I went down there. Gary and I partnered up on this shop and then ran it for about like a year. And the problem was back then I could put a 3-lighter in my garage and make more money than working 20 hours a day at this hydro shop.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it's like that. I remember when I opened my first hydro shop, it was like 500 square feet. And I put all the money I had into it and ran the front counter every day. I was pressure washing. I owned a pressure washing company. I pressure washed at night, and then I ran the front counter during the day. I slept maybe like 3 hours, and I lived in the back. And slowly just running the hydro shop, it was like $3,000 a day, and then I started hitting $4,000 days, and then it started going to $6,000-7,000 days, and then it started hitting $10,000-15,000 days. It took me like 2 years to do that. But I think, being a hydro shop owner, you really have to build the trust of your community.
Absolutely.
It's a big one, man. And they got to know that, you're part of the community, and you got to earn the respect. And I think it just takes time to earn that respect of the community, to where everybody knows you. And it's funny being a hydro shop owner, you become like the barbershop.
Yeah, the counselor.
Yeah, it's the barbershop.
The therapist.
Yeah, and you kind of have to, you got guys that are, you'd have growers that are fighting, right? Or guys that ripped another guy off. They're trying to get information from you. You're like, dude, like, you gotta be Switzerland. You gotta be kind of like an attorney. I don't know anything about what you're looking for. And over time you build that respect, and it took me 10-12 years and, finally got out of the business. So.
Yeah, that was what's hard for me is when you don't listen to me. If I know the answer to a problem and you come in and you go, hey, I got spider mites. Like, this is killing me. And I go, oh, easy day. Take this home, spray every single day, twice a day if you want. And then a week later they come back and goes, that product didn't work. And I go, well, how'd you do it? And they tell me, and it wasn't what I told them to do.
Yeah.
I go, well, now go back home and, do it again, do it right, and that was just consistent, and for 6 months, these guys are coming in every week with spider mites killing their harvest and, but they don't want to listen, and
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the problem with this industry.
Well, I remember working the counter and you'd get the same question asked all the time. What's pH? Like, what's this? And you're just like, oh man, like this is going to be a long day, trying to walk them through. But we made a lot of successful guys.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think like one of the most important things is being a hydro shop owner is guiding your customers to success.
Yes.
And that's how I ran my shop. Like, guys would put a bunch of stuff on the counter, like, you don't need that, you don't need that, you don't need that. You need this, this, and this. This is the same thing as this product. So you're buying way too much stuff here. And then you guide them to success. And every guy that worked the counter at Hydroponics Inc. Were growers. They all had their own thing going on. And I would always hire growers to run the counter, because how are you as a customer walking in, and it's so funny that at Athena we kind of do the same exact thing. Like we only hire really growers because if you guys, the phone's ringing, tech support, out in the field, you got to know what you're doing to guide the customer to success. I mean, it's the exact same philosophy.
Yeah, the boys over at All Seasons taught me everything I know. In those days it was, because when I started, I sat outside the newspaper shop every single month, and waited for High Times, Weed World, and Cannabis Culture. Those were the only 3 magazines available. And you didn't really talk to people. Like even when I first started going to All Seasons, you would park, 3 streets down, hop over back fences to get there, and then they ran a cool program back then where I could pay them for my order. They would put it into a storage center and give me the key. Mm-hmm. And so I would go in there, I'd order whatever I ordered, 3 boxes of Hugos and whatever nutrients, a bunch of Big Bud and Overdrive and paying way too much money for all this stuff. And then they would hand you a key and then be like, hey, it'll be there at midnight tonight. So I didn't have to leave the hydro shop with anything.
That's service.
Yeah, that was great. So that was probably 02, 03, somewhere around that time, and then as time went on, you stopped caring as much. You would just pull up to the hydro shop, and as you got bigger, you couldn't do that anymore. You needed quick service. Yeah,
it started to calm down a little bit. How did you start Wowtown? Like what?
So through fishing, Bones, finally told me what he was doing, right? And at that time, I had a company called it was a chemical and biological warfare company that we created this fast expedient situation. If you get hit with chemical or biological stuff, that the birds couldn't pick up the Navy SEALs, right? Because they're dirty. So we created the system so they can get cleaned, bagged, and get picked up, which then led to DEA and all this other stuff. And so this was a fishing partner of mine that I had fishing. So that went south. And then so now I'm wrapping cars. Like I lost my company that I started and now I'm wrapping cars. And
as an employee.
Yeah, I had to do what I had to do, and that, somebody offered me a job to do that, so I was doing that until something else came. Wife opened up a daycare at the house, just to make stuff work, and then Bones told me what are you doing. I'm like, yeah, fuck, because as a kid I always sold weed, and especially because I was in Compton, I was able to get the good weed from the OC, bring it to Compton, and crush. And so I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then we'd fish for another month, and he's all, you sure? I'm like, all right, I'm in, and just basically just to come trim. Right. And then, so I went and sat down with my family, my wife, kids. I didn't have kids. Did I have kids? Yeah, I just had kids.
You had kids. They were young.
But it was my parents, I just told everybody hey, this is what I'm gonna get into.
Oh, you just let everybody know.
Yeah. Because I don't want to hide what I'm going to do to my family.
Yeah.
And if you know me personally, once I get into something, I want to be the best at it. Right. So, and I go 100%. And so when Bones offered it to me, hey, just come work for me, come start as a trimmer, So I started with him. This was probably 2012-ish, maybe end of 2011. And so I started trimming. And then he had a little 2-liter section that was off, and he's like, hey, just go hand water this one. And then you take charge of it and see how it goes. And instantly I'm like, fuck, dude, I really like this. I fucking love it. And the first run, he's like, dude, what the fuck did you do? I go, I don't know. I fucking hand water this motherfucker. I don't know. You know what I mean? He's like, dude, this is fucking unreal. I'm like, okay, cool. And then so I just started trimming. And then as time going, he was like, hey, let's find a spot. And if you find a spot, we'll be partners. I'll put up the money. And then so Bones actually ended up finding the spot and then giving me half the spot. So we'd build it. He'd fund it. He gets paid back all his money first that he funded, right? And so I'll never forget this. It was the first time, now, I'm harvest coming, first payday, I'm going to crush it. We went out fishing. And I'm like, dude, it's going to be sick. First payday, come back, we're robbed.
What?
We were at San Clemente all day long. So we had no reception. Back then there was now there's cell towers on the island, but back then there wasn't. As soon as we passed Catalina, both our phones are like, ding, ding, ding. And we're like, no. And so, yeah, came back in and whole place was gone. It was a 9-lighter.
Yeah.
Had to be an inside
It was
job.
a
I was
9-lighter.
100%. Somebody on the
That
inside.
9-lighter meant the world to him.
Yeah.
That was everything, you know. And
But they left enough for us to harvest and pay the next rent.
Okay.
when they
Right.
stripped it through the trellises, they left like 3 pounds, which
Okay.
got us through.
At that time, would
Yeah.
pay the rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and Bones like, you know, because when I first got into this game, he's like, hey, there's a few things that's going to happen. You're going to get robbed. If you have a flood, don't pay your electricity. All these, you know, give me the warning signs of how you're going to lose the spot, you know? And so when it happened, I was like, fuck. And he's like, yeah, but you're not that upset. And I go, dude, you told me this was going to happen. I mean, what are you going to do? Like whine about it? Let's get back on the grind. And, you know.
Did you guys do the same spot?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went until
Stupid.
this year.
We
It
would
went
still
till-
have it.
It went till this year and got raided.
It went till this year from 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have a spot that I still have from 02.
Respect.
Still running right now. Yeah.
Respect.
I don't run it anymore, but I handed it. I think six people have ran that spot in the last 23 years, and it's so we got this house in Encino, giant, like huge house with a tennis court and pools and badass house, and this guy was just like he threw 12 lights in the garage, and my neighbor was his friend, and he goes, hey, my boy needs your help, and I'm like, okay. And this is early. Like, I think at that time, the biggest I'd ever ran was a 6-lighter or 8-lighter. And he goes, this is like 2001, 2002. And he goes, I need you to come over, take a look at my buddy's grow. So I head down there, we pull up. It's like this gorgeous mansion, and I'm like, wow. Walks me in and takes me in the garage, and it was an A-frame garage, probably 12 feet high in the middle, and the plants were touching the peak of the A-frame, going back down.
They need your help big
Going
time.
back down like this, and then growing back up to the lights.
They didn't know how
And
to flip the flower or what?
Yeah, he goes, man, I've tried everything. I've tried Big Bud. I've tried Overdrive. I've tried every nutrient. And I go, okay. I go, where's your light timers? And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, where's your timers? And he goes, nah, I just plug them into the wall. And he had 12 lights plugged into just
24
the wall,
hours.
24 hours a day. So he goes, he goes, look, I put 40 grand into this. I don't need it. I don't want it. He goes, I just want to go to the Philippines and have fun, and he goes, if you can get me my 40 grand back out of this, he goes, you pay me $2 grand a month, you can have this place forever. And I go, okay. He goes, you just take care of the property, take care of the pool, make sure the property stays good. So after a few years, he'd come back on his visa every once in a while. And after a couple of years, we were using dark energy back then. I was
I remember
die
dark energy.
hard.
Did you feed it or did you spray it?
I fed it.
Okay.
And every resi in veg had dark energy. And every time this guy came home, he'd be like, my house smells like shit, man. Like, you got it. And I'm like, well, like, this is what I do, like, there's no changing that.
I'm not getting rid of this dark energy.
No chance. So, like, 06, he comes, it was always a surprise when he showed up. You never knew, the house was empty for 4 months, sometimes 6 months. And then one day you show up and he's there. And so I show up and there's a cement truck in the front yard. And I'm like, what the hell? And I walk in the backyard, there's like 6 guys and they're pouring a pad behind the tennis court. And I go, what's this? And he goes, I'm building you a 2,000 square foot grow. I want you out of the house.
No way.
Yeah.
What a savage.
And that's still there to this day.
Dude, that is
It's
awesome.
a little rough, but
Yeah.
My boy's still running it. I had dinner with him 2 nights ago.
What nutrients were you guys using? Because I'm sure you guys were using the same formula.
Well, we started with A and B, Big Bud.
SVA, red top,
The-
green top.
Okay. The SVA, SVB.
Yeah. Hydrozyme, Big Bud, Overdrive.
SM90. We had a pretty
Yeah,
good little
SM90.
formula.
They recalled that for some reason.
they really?
Yeah, it was like probably like 5-6 years ago.
Ooh, that was my favorite smelling nutrient.
We were selling tons of it.
Really?
Yeah, they took it off the market.
Huh.
Yeah,
I don't know
was.
why. I forget. It's been so long ago.
That was how I found Gary, He was the only one in the early 2000s that would sell advanced nutrients because they advertised towards weed. No hydro shop would carry them. And there was only, I think, 2 hydro shops anyway. You know, so Gary was one of them. Then there was Foothill Hydro, and then there was the guy who started Yellow Bottle.
Yeah, I remember they would go to the trade shows, Max Yield, with like a Ferrari in their booth, and it's like so against the culture.
Yes,
it's like it's like none of us would ever buy a Ferrari ever because we won't be seen dead in a Ferrari.
Yeah.
But these guys are like posted with a big Ferrari. I'm just like, what are you guys doing here?
But that was the big change over the last few years. Is like, you know, I remember when you're struggling, times are tough, and you're, you know, week 5. And it's time to go buy that $780 5-gallon of overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and you don't have a choice, but it's either pay your, you know, rent at home or get the overdrive. And you're like now it's like the price we pay for Athena.
I know.
It's wild. It's unbelievable.
Were you guys always on SVA and like kind of like the Valley formula and then switch to Athena, or did you have a transition?
We went to Veg Bloom. And then we went to HGV.
Okay.
And then so when we were at that spot, this is when Ivan was starting to move into Huntington Beach area.
Yep.
And so he started posting a lot of fishing stuff of the same type of fish that we fish for. And me and Bones were like, you know, we follow them, of course, they're Jungle Boys, you know what I mean? Like, and so we're sitting there trimming some weed. I'm like, fuck, dude, they're catching calico bass. And I'm like, we should fucking fish with them. And he's like, well, reach out. I go, you think? He's like, dude, you're the fucking Jungle Boys of the calico bass thing. Of course, dude. Like, you know what I mean? They would be stoked to fish, you know? So I hit up Roach and Ivan, and then Roach hit me up like, yeah, bro, let's fucking go fish, right? And he has no idea that we're in the game, right? But it took a year for it to happen, right? We kept in touch and whatever, and like it just never really lined up how it was going. So finally, we pick up Roach. We set up Roach, you know, and we're going to go take him to the island and show him what we do. And so we pick him up, dude. And the funny thing is Roach gets in the back seat and we have a bottle of Clonex in Bones' truck sitting down there, right? And Roach tells me, he looks down, he's all, these motherfuckers here.
Yeah, he goes, they're going to kill me.
They're kidnapping me, dude. You know, and then, so we went out fishing, dude. We had an amazing time. And then
did you take him into the surf?
Yeah,
trip him out.
The fishing
was he
wasn't,
tripping?
Yeah, the fishing wasn't great, but he ended up catching, I think it was like a 6-pounder or something. Like, it was a good one. Dude.
Was he tripping when you took him? On the surf and shit. Yeah.
They held it together better than I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so then after that trip, then got in touch with Ivan. And then I'm like, hey Ivan, let's go fish. And then so Ivan, you know, his captain Evan.
Yep,
right?
Evan.
Okay, so Evan,
legend.
I grew up fishing with Evan, right? And when Evan was like a little kid, and Evan used to get bullied and picked on, and I used to hate fucking Evan. Like he used to just irritate the shit out of me. And then one time I took him out to lunch and talked to Evan and heard his story and kind of understood the story and like, you know what, dude, I get it now. I get you. And so I kind of became like a big brother to him. Like everybody started messing with him. Like, dude, nah, that ain't happening no more, right? So he's come over for Easter. Like, you know, he was, you know.
Yeah, part of the family.
Yeah. So Ivan's like, hey, can Evan come with us? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So then Roach went with Bones on his boat. Ivan came with us and we went to the island. And we just had a great fucking time. And the thing with that was, it wasn't so much even about the growing. Every person that I've met, and fishing has been the key to everything of this part of the journey that I came into the growing, but it's more so surrounding yourself around people that you respect and admire on the same places you want to be, right? Just the father being great fathers. Like that's one thing Bones said to me in the beginning. He's all, weed growers are the best fathers.
Yeah, you got something with that because I look at both Roach and Ivan, and they're both amazing fathers. Amazing
fathers. And I've been blessed. You know, we've been blessed.
And I just had Seatown on, and same thing. Just a great dad.
Yeah, he's become a good friend of mine. We talk once in a while. Seatown.
Yeah, he's really good people, man.
Great dude.
Yeah, just it is what you see, what you get.
100%.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's what I love about this is like, dude, there's so much like, especially with this fucking internet, you know, it's like you know, I really try not to get too much conversations, like especially when I'm Ivan and Roach and stuff. You know, we talk that stuff, but it's mainly family. Like they're friends. If I didn't grow, they're friends. They're you know, I really love their like family. Their family is amazing, and our family like became really close. Right, my wife and Ivan's wife, Roach's wife, the kid. You know what I mean? It's just a great formula.
And that was always one of my number one rules when people came on with me, especially in the early days. You know, I didn't want to have any trouble. I didn't want to have trouble for reasons that I didn't need to have trouble. So my rules were, when I brought you in, no cheating on your wife, because women are gnarly, you know? Yeah. And I'm just not into that. I don't like that. I don't like the result of that. You know, they'll be the first to, you know, hey, here's his spot, you know, go ahead. And then no hard drugs. I wanted no hard drugs around me, and no guns.
Yep.
And those were the three things that I lived by, you know, and through that, I feel like that's how I built where I am today, and the people that I surround myself with today, and the great people like Mike, like Ivan, like Roach, like, you know.
Well, you can always tell a lot about people about how long their friendships have been, you know. So you guys have been friends, sounds like 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
And also another one is doing business with people.
Yeah.
Like you might be friends with somebody, but as soon as you do business with them, you really know who they are.
Yeah. And
I think that's those are, you know, you kind of always have to watch and be conscious of your surroundings, your people, who you're surrounding yourself with. And those are two things that I'm always kind of looking for. Right?
And 100%, because a lot of people can't change from friendship to business.
No.
Right? They can't separate the two. I'm able to. Like, to me, like real friends, like me and Bones get into arguments all the time, you know? And Bones always, and I really love this because I have no chill. I have no filter. Like, if you're going to ask me something, you're going to get what my thought is, right? And so one of the biggest respects that I have is like Bones calls me like, I need an honest answer. And I'm going to give it to him, you know, because that's, you know, if not, why?
Yeah, why I'm like, do I look fat in this hoodie? He's like, you're just fat in general.
But you understand what I mean? It's like you have to be able to be honest, and true friends, regardless on if we get into a fight, that doesn't take away our friendship. It's just, you have to be able to like, okay, look, who was wrong, and man up and be able to say I was wrong, or, you know, whatever. And this is why I'm feeling this way, or whatever. It's just discussion. And a lot of people have that lost, you know? But I've just been blessed, dude. There's this whole community, like, and the internet fucks it up, right? So you got these like really strong personalities, and they're grinding, and respect to all of it. But it's just sometimes like when I don't know if this will make it, but whatever. But if you beat your dick all the time, dude, and it's your dick you're beating, that motherfucker's just gonna be you and your dick, bud. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird dynamic, dude. It's like,
but you know, it seems like there's been a lot more animosity and stuff in the community, I guess. But I mean, it's hard because where things are at right now, you know. I mean, how do you guys find it maintaining a profit and maintaining, you know, profitability in your guys' operations? Like, what are you guys doing, you know, to maintain profitability?
Grow fire.
Quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always say, if you grow the best weed on earth, there's always a place for that, you know. And now the difference is there's just no room for hiccups.
Yeah.
If you don't have a perfect run every single time, you're probably not going to make it very long in this business now.
100%. Yeah, that's the big
thing. And it's hard because, I mean, back in 2012, or let's say 15, 16, 17, 18, I mean, living the best life, right? Like, it didn't matter. Like, okay, yeah, dude, we got a harvest coming in 2 weeks, dude.
Going on vacation.
Yeah, it's no issues. Like, oh, kids. And this is what was great at that time when my kids were growing up, because my oldest son, I missed a lot of his, I was working that other job, like 90 hours a week, and like just never home. And dude, he was getting bullied and shit that I fucking missed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it still breaks my heart that I missed that. Like, I didn't catch that stuff. You know what I mean? And then when I got into this, you know, we'd work our ass off 20, 30 hours, you know, straight. But then we can, you know, go in for an hour and come, you know, check the spot, come in, come back, and then you got the rest of the time with your family. Do what you got to do.
I always ran a fireman drill in the early days, you know, so like trimming, there was no such thing as finish tomorrow. If we start trimming today and it's a, you know, 20 lighter, we're finishing to like, it might be tomorrow, but we're not going home.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, for us, then it would be, you know, okay, we got here at 8 a.m. We finished at 10 a.m. the next day. You know, water the plants real quick, go home, sleep all day, and then the next day maybe don't go to work.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, yeah, my guy, David, who runs my facility now, is the one who kind of came in and I don't want to call it laziness, but he's like 10 hours, he's done. He just wants to go home. And that never made sense to me because Mike and I, you know, we go to work every day and we work, you know, 20 hours, you know, and kill ourselves. And David was like, you know, we got 7 days in a week. And he's like, we could just spread this out, you know, work 8 hours a day. And so that was 4 or 5 years ago. And that really was when my life kind of normaled out, you know, and I was able to learn that like, okay, you know, I can do, you know, a 10-hour day, 8-hour day, go home, like be with my family and enjoy life.
Yep.
You know, and yeah.
What I mean for growers out there that are, you know, having challenges with gaining profitability, you know, whether it's their 1 lighter, 4 lighter, 100 lighter, like what advice would you have for those guys?
Well,
yeah, I mean for learning now that this is my first facility, my first legal spot this year. We opened Oklahoma 4 or 5 years ago. My boy Mac out there is crushing it, and we started to build this place, and like our trap, Mike and I, the way that we always ran it was with fire. We didn't grow what was necessary to grow. Like for example, right now, candy, you know, if you're not growing candy, you're not making it, you know, and it's just that simple. And before I don't want to say we fought that, but we just grew fire. And it didn't matter what strain we grew, you know, but you know, it was a different time, and now I think to maintain profitability, you got to grow candy. I hate to say it, you know, but if you're in a facility, large scale facility, you know, that's for me what it takes, and I'm slowly trying to work that out, you know. But when I started, I was at 75% candy. Now I'm down to about 50. And I'm doing everything I can to grow. You know, the other stuff's always so much better, but when you finish a harvest, the candy is gone in a day, you know, and then the rest of it, you're sitting there, you know.
Right now, so that's the problem that I'm having, you know, especially with all my genetics, and I love growing my strains. They're fire as hell, but they're like, oh yeah, don't smell like candy. And so now I'm hustling every, you know, place to try to offload my stuff, and it's like, fuck. You know, and listening to everyone, and now it's like, okay, now I should do 2 rows of candy and then 1 row of my stuff and make it a limited supply. Like one of the biggest advice I could say for like growers, like I would say like 24 lights and under, you know, 2 lighters, whatever, is like you got to create your own market, you know, like breaking them down, and that's the new game.
Breaking the units down.
Breaking them down, doing, you know, putting them on the internet and
going direct to consumer.
100%. You know, and that's one thing. So, you know, a few key things when I met Ivan that he told me was like, you got a brand, you got to come with a brand. Right. And that's when we were first talking in the fishing industry. When we went fishing, he was like, you got to have a brand. And so that went on for a while, and then I just thought about it. And then, I lost my thought.
Well, you know, it's funny about Ivan, right? He'll lightly tell you something, and he'll just tell you once, and he won't tell you again. He won't make a big deal out of it. But that's why when you're around him and you're either getting advice from him or talking to him, you really got to listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
Right? You got to pay attention, because he's not going to tell you again.
Yeah.
He'll tell you once. He'll lightly say it. And it's like, are you smart enough to listen?
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. 100%. So we went, because after that fishing trip, he invited us to come down to the factory. And so we went and did a walkthrough. And that's when we first learned about Athena, because he was testing Athena.
That's when we were doing the R&D.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So we were on HGV at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would make our own dripper system, PVC pipe, 8 holes onto a pump, and it would drip down, and we use 6-inch cubes, and it would drip, that was our dripper. But then once we went and walked the factory, we're like, dude, we got to get into this, the dripper systems and all this stuff. And as we were when we did that, HGV was clogging everything. Like, it was terrible. So then when we met Ivan and stuff and Athena, I'm like, okay, well, so I took on Athena and put it at one of the facilities.
Did you get some Proline before we launched it?
Yes.
Oh, he gave it to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I ran it at one of my locations. So I really love, I still do it to this day. I'm always changing. I'm always trying something new. Fail, non-fail, win, whatever, and when problems happen, I pay attention to those problems because I see what the plants do. When a solenoid goes out on day 42 and you get a super bad dryback, they're almost dead, and then you survive, and how much frosty they are.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Oh, snap. So now I implement that.
Yeah.
I act like
implement the dryback.
Yeah.
The stress.
I turn my solenoid off for a day. Let them dry back for a day. Stress them out for one day. And so little things like that. We used to run in the veg, the humidity would be like 60, 40%, because as we grew for lights, not veg, right? We wanted to pack as many lights as we can, the veg be this big, and you'd have, what I mean? You never thought about the veg being so important back then. It was more about how many lights can I get in flower lights, And so I would have this garage, I would set up a 12 lighter. I ended up putting side lights on it, and I put a humidifier in there. And I have a camera, I got to find the video, but I fucking put it in there. It didn't have the, when you push the thing into the clip and the humidifier, it didn't have the little small thing in there. So the hose was just sitting in there.
Just draining.
So it popped out and just pouring water for 12 hours on the electrical panel in
directly on the
in there.
Bro.
And like I see it on the camera, and my brother comes to me like, hey man, dude, something's going on. There's water coming out the garage. I go, oh well, tell your girl to go in there and turn it off. And I'm all, oh bro, I can see it hitting the electrical panel. I'm all, she's gonna die. She's like, oh my gosh, bro. I mean, thousands and thousands of gallons just running out of this garage. But when I walked in, it was like 98% humidity. Dude, my plants were just, and I'm all, oh fuck, dude, what happened here? And I'm like, oh dude, we're running too low of humidity, dude. We gotta set this up.
100%.
And so I learned that part, and I'm like, oh dude, and that started changing the whole game there, and yeah, we've had some pretty good floods, dude.
I just had a good one the other day.
Did you, when you were running your humidifier, did you use reverse osmosis in your humidifier?
Yes.
Did you use, yes.
Yeah, you
Why?
have.
Well, because
Why?
I didn't.
Because this is really important. A lot of growers don't know about this.
So I didn't at first. The first time I did it.
And what happened?
It looked like my drywall dust all over my plants.
But what happened to the plants?
Deficiency. They were covered. They were covered with. It looked like somebody shaved drywall. My whole, because the calcium was so bad.
Yep.
And it was just, they were just.
I learned that the hard way. I was struggling with a room on deficiencies, and I couldn't figure it out. I'm trying this, trying that. And I was like, man, what could it be? Like probably weeks and weeks. And what I, had it down to was that the tap water that was going into my humidifier was adding minerals to the room, getting on the leaves and locking out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it depends on what you start with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But as soon as I changed it to RO, no problems.
Yeah. I didn't catch it like that. I came in, dude, my whole plants were white from the calcium.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we got to change it. So I just bought a little.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, you're pumping in foliar feeding nonstop of whatever's in that tap water.
And it's unbelievable how much stuff is in your tap water.
Yep.
Once you see your walls and your fan blades, and you have those black fans on the wall with the black blades, and now they're white. You're looking at your fan, after a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything is ruined in the room almost.
Yeah. The humidifiers are like the love-hate situation because you need them, but they just fuck your gear up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I had a similar thing that you had with propane CO2 burners.
What was happening?
All our plants, Mike and I had a spot and one room. We had propane burners in every room. One room, camo. It was always, the leaves just looked like camo. And couldn't figure it out. They wouldn't grow well. We would all, pound a light every time out of that room. And yeah, I attribute it to that room was probably sealed better than my other rooms. And the gas from the CO2 burner wasn't able to escape. Like my other rooms weren't put together quite as well, maybe, but that one room, as soon as we got rid of the CO2 burners and put in bottles, I was like, never again. Threw away all my burners. I had 50 burners, threw them all away.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wanted to get back to, you had a question earlier about like, what would you tell growers nowadays?
Yeah.
I wanted to answer that so the number one thing, and I've tried every gimmick on the market, back in the high times days, you're driving nails through your stem, you're, filling the pot with pennies, you're trying everything you can to, get color and do all this. Now there's no tricks. There's just zero tricks. There's Athena, there's environment, and there's the way you water. And to me,
Lighting.
Lighting's huge. Yeah. I just had a very interesting realization with my 800 Gavitas that I just bought. And
the red diode.
yeah.
Yeah. Is it harming anything?
No, it's fine. But I can't purple out strains that if it's not genetically purple, if I grow Mike's glazed ice, everything's fine. Purple, everything's great. But if I want my lemon cherry to look nice, purple lemon cherry, not going to happen, no matter what I do. And the way I figured that out is fighting it. We've only been in business there 8 months. And most of my career, I ran HPS. And how long have we been running LEDs? 7, 8 years?
As soon as Lux came out,
Yeah,
basically.
the first Luxes that ever came out, we bought.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, so I put under canopies about like 8 weeks ago. And we're walking in rooms the last few weeks, and the entire bottom of my all the plants are plants that I haven't been able to get purple is solid purple. And Roach is trying to walk me through, we're going through this every day. I got Aaron coming over. I got Mike coming over. We're talking about dryback schedules. We're talking about, we're raising the temp now, trying to drop humidity. We're lowering the temp. We're every trick you could think of trying to get purple. And the whole time it was my lights. My lights will not allow it to turn purple.
And that's because, is it the red diode that's staying on during the night cycle?
No, it's
The spectrum?
just not enough red.
Not enough red.
Not enough red.
Okay.
They're great lights, huge yields. I like them. I'm not disappointed that I got them, but I did learn that I have to pheno hunt for those lights.
Yeah. Needs to increase the red.
Yeah.
So going back to how are growers, driving success in their gardens? No more fancy tricks.
Yeah, there's just not. People always think, oh, your buds are so big, you must be phospholoading. Oh, Mike's strains are so crystally, there's got to be this extra thing. There's not. There's environment, there's food and there's lighting, and really, and there's food and there's how you give it.
Irrigation strategy.
Yeah.
Irrigation, which includes stresses at the right time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Walk me through your guys' irrigation strategy and how you're running it. What drippers are you using? Cocoa, rock wool? What's
So
going on?
I've never done cocoa before. I mean, for moms and stuff, but as far as a room, I haven't done it. Always been on cubes, rock wool, 4x4s by 4s. I switched now to 4x2x2s.
4x4x2.
Yeah, 4x4x2, and then the slab, the 36-inch slab.
Yep.
So for me, I put my plants in at 18.6 in the room. for as many days as I feel like they've locked in. I used to put them in and then flip the room right away, and I would always have a bad a lot of plants didn't lock in properly. And one of the biggest problems I found is I'm sure people know it now, but when you put that cube on that slab sucks that cube dry. So if you're not watering that cube, it doesn't matter about the slab. The slab's already full. There's no roots in that slab. So you got to keep that cube hydrated so you don't lose your root base. So when I put them in 18.6, as soon as lights come on, I'm watering that cube for 3 minutes. And I do that 17 shots in an 18.6. And what that's doing is just allowing that cube to stay hydrated as those roots get into that slab. That slab is still going to dry back about a half inch from the top as it drains out. So those roots are going to start to get into that section and start to spread out. But at the same time, they're getting so much food that they're getting used to be able to accept that much food, which their root base is stronger. And they're searching, but they're searching this way. And then once you feel like your room, you could tell when your room's locked in and it's looking pretty, then you flip it. And then I start to...
How many weeks is that usually what you're seeing on average? I know it's strain dependent, but...
Well, so I'm 4 days, 18.6 in my room.
What? Okay.
So I put them in
on
veg,
the slab.
On the slab. 3 to 4 days. It depends on how big
4-day veg on the slab. And
Yeah.
you're starting probably plants...
I'm like at day 10.
Okay, day 10.
Yeah.
So you're a 14-day veg.
Yes.
And then 4 of those days are on the slab.
Correct.
Okay.
And then once I flip the room, I will start to if I feel everything looks good, I'll now be an hour after lights turn on. I'll start the watering, and then I'll do an hour before lights go off. And then I'm doing that, and then I'll maybe back a watering off the back, depending on how the plants look, until day 7. Once I hit day 7, now I'm going for that dry back. I'm only going to hit 5 shots in the very beginning, first 5 hours.
Okay, so you're really just flooding the media in the first week of flower.
Yes.
And then your first dry back is
on
after
day
7.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's
now,
real quick, let me just say something, because this is huge. This is gigantic for me at this facility. Do not pay attention to your water content in the slabs until day 10.
Yeah.
Don't even look at it.
Okay.
Hammer them. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, because
hammer them on feeding.
Yes.
And moisture.
Yeah, we had a long learning curve on slabs, where you think the slab's at 85%, 80%, whatever, I call it.
Yeah, because the roots aren't developed in there yet.
But there's no roots in there. So if you're not watering it, our thought was, hey, we could put them on slabs and leave them for 4 days. You don't need to water them. Those slabs are so heavy.
You got to get it in the main cube.
And there's something about stagnant water. Mm-hmm. Pumping fresh water through 18 times a day, it pushes those roots through.
Yeah. And you're getting giant stalks, like they're really getting ready to do what what we want them to do.
Okay.
And then so that dry back period is really important. And so you watch it, but we try to get down to maybe 35%, 30 sometimes. And then what I do is I reset the slab. I'll just turn my things on. Once I hit that point, I'll reset the slab to get to full thing. And I go back to 5 feedings again until I get my second 35% dry back. Once I hit that, that's usually by, let's say, so 7, by day 12, 14, I should have had my second dry back period. Now I'm hitting them every hour for 3 minutes, 10 times.
On a 0.3 dripper.
Yes.
3 minutes, 10 times on a 0.3
HPS
dripper.
3.0.
Two drippers.
Two drippers in the main 4x4.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so,
are you putting drippers in your slabs?
No.
Okay. Now, when going back, so your first dry back is at day 7 of flower.
Yes.
But you're really not paying attention to your slab water content in the first 10 days of flower.
Right.
If you have meters, like I tell everybody, don't even stick a meter in the slab, until, if you have meters, like we have GrowLink, right? So I have constant data.
I was going to ask that. So you guys are running GrowLink.
Yeah, so my spots, I have one room that has GrowLink, then I have the Solus that I manually go and check stuff. So I'm not super high tech.
Yeah, you don't need to be.
No. And so I use my Solus and just check when I feel ready. And then I'll just go and pick up the slab too. I can physically feel like, okay, hey, we're getting close. Let's get the meter and check it out and see see where we're at.
Yeah, there becomes a point where you gain control of the ship You know what I mean? Like
what's that point? Day 10?
Probably
12?
around day 10. Once your roots are locked in and now you have control of the irrigation, right? Like I can pull some feedings and I can watch it decline. I can add some feedings, I can watch it rise. That's where you can start to steer. You can't steer until you have roots filling that media.
Yeah. Because if not, then all you're doing is, like if you don't have a plant that has good roots, all you're watering is that 4x4.
Yeah.
That's it. That's only, so you got to water the shit out of it now because that's all it's surviving on.
After day 10 or 12, once you've got control and your roots are established in the slab, what's your frequency of watering?
Every hour. For me, I do every hour for 3 minutes. Now I'm trying to get the EC stack.
Okay.
Right? And so HPS and LED is different. I start off with, now mind you, a lot of my spots, I don't have RO. I use tap water. So
you use tap water with Athena.
Yes.
Okay.
And so
what's your starting ppms on your RO? Or on your non-RO tap water?
0.7.
0.7.
Yeah.
Okay, 0.7 EC.
So in LED, I run 3.5. I start with 3.5 EC.
3.5 EC Athena
Yes.
Pro line.
Yes.
And are you feeding that in veg as well?
No, I do 2.7.
2.7 in veg under LED.
Yes.
With Athena Pro line.
Well, I'm an
water.
HPS in my veg.
Okay.
So
Okay.
then, and I do the same thing under LED because I have another spot with LEDs in it.
Now, are you switching to 3.5 EC day 1 of flower?
Yes.
Okay.
On LED.
On LED.
3.0 HPS.
3.0 on HPS.
Yes.
3.5 on LED.
LED, it seems like, I think everybody, we got into this when LEDs first came out. We're like, oh, dude, not as much watering and not this.
Oh, increase PPFD, increase EC.
Yeah.
It's pretty common sense.
So once I started up that, I saw, because I was starting to get purpling and all this stuff in the very beginning. And like, it was just too much light. They were taking up so much that they needed more.
Okay.
So I'm now with that 12 until day 25 or whatever, like, in our logic, every time day 21, the plants stop growing, dude. They're growing to like 25, 26. You're like, dude, stop. And so I'm trying to get this EC spike now to get the, more bud sites and all that stuff. And of course, I can give you the game plan, but every day you walk in a room, you have to adjust on the strains and strain dependent, right? Some like
100%.
it, some. So, and that's where time in the garden, like, for me, since 2012, every day, basically, learning every day. That's why I love this. Every day I come in, you don't know what you're going to walk into every day. AC out, something, you have to adjust. And a lot of people don't have that. They walk in and like, like my right-hand guy, dude, like sometimes he'll walk in like, hey, everything's good. And I'll walk in like 30 seconds in, dude, what about that plant right there? Like, what's going on with it? Some people just don't
not looking at
see
everything.
it,
So sounds like from day 10 to 12 to day 25, you're kind of using a similar irrigation strategy.
Yes.
Are you changing your climate at all during that time?
So I've been playing around with a lot of stuff, and I guess we all have, right? So at first I would like keep my lights at 500 watts and then kind of keep it all the way up, until almost like gradually until day 25, then be at 100%.
Okay.
Back in the day, I would go from 500 to 700 by day 5.
500 ppfd to 700 ppfd.
Yeah. And then just, and then keep raising there, which now I'm going back to.
You're going back to that old strategy.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it feels like my locations, I was kind of going back to what I was doing before and kind of some things. And this is where the internet kind of messes you up. Or, I go to Bone Spot and it's like, damn, dude, look, this thing's fucking insane, dude. It's like 4 pounds of light, just beautiful. But I got to remember that my facility is not his facility.
Yeah.
I don't have like, some of my spots, dude, it's like the trap spot, when you have trap spots, like you have to, I think that really helps me to be a good grower because you have to be able to adjust everything. I don't
Based
have all
on the infrastructure you're given.
Yeah, these facilities they're a whole different animal now, because like we used to always laugh at my boy Mac out in Oklahoma. He'd call us, so sad, like, bro, I just got 2.3 a light, and we're like in a trap, we're chest bumping.
Yeah,
And now, being in this facility, I get it, right? But the number one thing is there is 0 hiccups ever. I have 2 20 tons per 60 light room. I run that I run that 60 light room on 120 ton. The other backs it up 2 degrees. I set it 2 degrees higher. So this one goes out. This one catches it. It alerts me. And now I jump on my phone. I set this one down to this one's temperature. I call my AC guy. You know, my DHU, same thing. My watering, same thing. Everything is so technologically advanced and built well. You know, the numbers walking into this spot. I mean, last night we hit 38 pounds on 7 lights on a row.
38 pounds on 7 lights.
5.3
Holy, but that's with under canopy.
under canopy.
Dude, that's crushing.
Regardless, though, like
But you couldn't have done it without under canopy.
Never.
Yeah.
Not even close. I will never again run another room in my life without under canopy.
Yeah. Ivan's on the same page.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're getting to those 4s and 5s.
Yeah, we're averaging now the numbers that we're averaging. We're only 4 rooms in on under canopy in our facility. So I've only cut down 4 rooms ever with under canopy, and I think the lowest weight we've got on an entire room is 3.8.
Yeah.
But the difference is we went from, 30%, 35% smalls ratio to 8.
Yeah. At Lux, all we needed to do was turn those 200 watt bars upside down.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. They were done, bro. The
Yep.
spectrum's the same. They mimic the spectrum.
Really?
I mean, somebody did it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody took the 200 watt Lux, ADR spectrum bar and threw it underneath the canopy,
Yep.
and they crushed.
Yep.
That's what happened.
Yep.
Yeah, we saw a difference on the side lighting when we used to put, we had a buddy who was making LED stuff. He's like, try this on the sides, and we'd mount them to the walls or to the racks that were on the side, and you saw a difference.
Yeah.
It was,
I had to get online and apologize to like 50 people about the under canopies because I went on rants to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more power. It's more, you're going to need more air conditioning, more humidity, or more DHU, all these things, you're going to have to water differently. It doesn't matter. Do that. And you don't. Like I stuck these in my room and changed nothing other than my water strategy because you're forced to, because now your plants are eating a little differently. It's not crazy, but they definitely eat a little more, dry out a little more. Do you notice like in the trap, like, did you need more air conditioning? Did you need more?
I don't have that option. So I had to go. So there's all these lighting companies. I had to go with the one that was the coolest that I was told, the coolest, which was Craft Farmers. Yeah. Right. Cause it has the metal outside. So it ran cooler. And cause I run I have on LED, I have one room that has 14 lights with 1 5-ton.
Okay, it's not too bad.
And then my HPS rooms are 12 lights with a 5-ton, which I cannot do under canopies in. I can barely hold
now with the HPS.
I can barely hold now.
Yeah, you're talking about 650 watts compared to 1,000 watts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, do I change those lights out to LEDs and put under canopies in there? Because now I'm like, 2 rooms are crushing.
You got to change them out to LEDs and do under canopy.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, you get your money back probably first run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or do I add an AC and keep, because I love the HPS flower too.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's a hard thing to.
Going back to irrigation strategy, you were talking about EC and stacking EC. What's your EC in veg? And then what's your EC for that first 10 to 12 days? And then where do you go from to day 25 after the 12 days?
So I try to get up to like 8 to 9 EC from day, let's call it 13 to 21.
Okay, 13 to 21.
I'm trying to really stack that EC up.
Using the GrowLink system, what's your water content when you're seeing that 8 to 9 EC?
It's like that perfect dry back, right? So you're stacking, and there's no plateau. You're going like this, and then the night's just dropping.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? There's no flat spot. It's just watering.
Yep.
And it never maxes out. And then overnight it's drying back down to 35 to 40%.
And that 8 to 9 EC is with dry back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's really important.
Yeah. So you're not
stacking.
You're not running water out. You got to keep it kind of perfect so that the EC will stack. And so if you're taking readings and your EC's not stacking, then cut your watering down 30 seconds or you know what I mean?
Okay.
And see what happens.
What's your irrigation strategy after the day 25?
So I'm always changing. But now what I'm doing now is like hour after the lights are on. Sometimes, depending if I really feel the root base is good, it's an hour. If the root base isn't as good, I could do 2 hours sometimes, afterwards, so that I get a little bit more dry back.
So you increase dry back after day 25.
No, I'm doing more. So 28 minutes, I do 3-minute shots, 28 minutes apart.
Okay.
17 times. So now I have 4 hours of off time before lights go off.
Okay.
And then I know Bones has it to where at nighttime shots.
Roach has really helped us dial this in over here. I spend countless hours because it's different, it changes in this environment. So we run, we don't pay attention in the beginning. We just run every hour. I want those roots to, really, really jump into the slab. Without a proper anchor, you can't do anything, So I get them anchored, and then we're probably day 5, 6 now. We feel like, so we chop every Monday, clean every Tuesday, replant Wednesday, and then flip Friday every week. And so they get to sit in the room as, Wednesday, Thursday in 18.6. And they're getting hit every hour, 18 times. Sometimes I'll throw a shot in the dark, just to keep, because I really don't want that cube to dry out. That cube's dry. If you just take 2 Rockwell cubes, set them on top of each other, it's dry in under 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a brand new cube, so it's important to keep those wet. And then once I get the anchor day 5 now, then we start to do our dry backs. And just like Mike, we do an hour after the lights come on, we feed 5 times every 30 minutes. So it's a 2.5 hour watering. And then, that's a long dry back. Back till it feeds again, you're looking at 21.5 hours, So then we let it kind of, like the way we do it at my facility is we let it tell us, once it starts to steer downward, usually a couple days we'll start to get alerts, hey, you hit 30%, and 30% is my threshold. I don't ever let a slab go below 30%. I feel 30% is, you get to 27, 26.
Yeah.
You get way too bad a tip burn. You get, a lot of problems. Then we add P1s at that point. So we'll add up to 8 P1s total every 30 minutes. Once we surpass that, then we start our P2s. We'll do that an hour after the P1s. But this is all forced. Some of our rooms, if they're not crushing, we'll never go past 5 P1s. So, but once we get to 8 P1s, this room's crushing. It's doing great. We have 8 P1s now. We take an hour off. Because what happens is by the next day, you have 8 P1s. By the next day, let's say, the lights turn on at noon. We start watering at 1. At 11, we're hitting 11. So an hour before the lights come on, we're hitting that 30%. But I want that to happen right around 1. Mm-hmm. So I'm 2 hours early. So I need to add a P2. So I'll throw a P2 on there. And then, and then adjust accordingly. And these rooms now with under canopies, we got night shots going all night long. P3s, so we'll have 5 P2s. We do those every hour, the P2s, and we'll do those all the way through till dark. And then some of these rooms are forcing us to do 3 night shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The, with how you're finishing, how are you finishing it off and getting this quality that I'm seeing right here? Because it's funny, right? How the industry changed or how it's changing, I think. We always used to think, hey, add something to get a better quality. But as we're talking right now, you're seeing that it's not adding anything. Mm-mm. What are you doing now? We're just adjusting irrigation strategy. That's it. That's how you're getting quality, right?
And also, outside on the my facilities, every spot is different how it runs. I have one spot that, especially in the summertime, when the lights are on, it gets up to 85 degrees. I can't get it any cooler than that. It's what it is. But I set my AC to 70. So at night, it goes to 70. I might not get the yield, the thing, but the color and the quality of that room is absolutely insane. And it's because I feel that you're getting a heat stress during the day, a cold stress at night, and it's just making them push.
Day-night differentials are huge.
Yeah.
Roach has really been implementing that with us lately. And like we've been working, all of us together now on, because dehues stop working at about 69 degrees. So this freezing your room out at the end, to get color. And maybe in a year I'm doing it again. But right now we have completely stopped that. We run 72 to 74 the entire time to be able to allow our dehues to work to get us to 50.
Mm-hmm.
And that's adding the color, it's keeping mold away, because if you're running your temp at 64 degrees, I can get my rooms down as low as I want them. But if I'm at 58 degrees, my humidity's 75. My dehues might as well turn them off.
Yeah.
So environmental steering, in my opinion, is as important as crop steering or irrigation steering. You know?
What's your finish look like? How high EC are you maintaining that? 8 to 9.
So once we get to like day 42 to 45, I switch to now I'm going every 27 minutes and 19 shots. So I'm just on a steady program because the way my setup is, I can't really do a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
So I run it that way. And then once day 52, 53, depends if it's HPS. LED seems like I take my rooms down like at 60 to 63. HPS, I can sometimes push to 68 to 70. Depends on how long I waited to put my lights at a certain.
Okay, so after 10 days before harvest, you're down to 68 degrees, and you're.
Well, I put it at 70.
Okay.
I keep it at 70 now.
Okay, so you freeze out the room.
Yeah, and then I start fade on 52.
Okay.
Right, and that's been a huge game changer as far as that. Before fade came out, we were taking the core out.
Yeah.
So that really started changing the game too. It's been cool to grow as Athena's grown.
Yeah, because we're always playing. I mean, we're running so many trials right now with the new R&D facility. It's crazy. Yeah, we're running all kinds of crazy stuff that we're excited about.
It's so cool because and it all comes from mistakes that happen, right? That's what I was talking about earlier. It's like you do something mistake. Like I one time set my timers to feed all at night and not during the day at all. And by the time I figured it out, it was 21 days in. Dude, I had the biggest nugs ever. Am I missing something? Like, what's going on? Is it almost like hand watering? Because we used to go in at night to sneak into the spot to hand water the plants and then come back the following day. Is that, you know what I mean? It just makes your mind think like, what's going on? Why now do I have bigger buds? Is it because I'm feeding all at night and then all day they're eating what you fed? And then dry, you know what I mean? There's so many variations. That's why I love this so much because it's never the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's never the same. It ain't. You just can't push a button.
And to be able to, get the quality that we're getting, through a simple 3-part formula.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's crazy. I mean, my whole life it was 10 nutrients minimum in a resi, one resi.
Yeah.
So now to see what we're getting out of, people walk in and, everybody's looking for a gimmick. And I'm like, dude, my tanks mix themselves, like without me even here. I'm not adding, I'm not doing anything, like there's no.
They always think that you're doing something. It's funny.
But it really is. It really showed once Bones got his facility up and running, which is probably one of the nicest facilities. Have you been there yet?
No, not yet, but I've seen it all over.
It's just
it
amazing.
700 lights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, but it really shows when you have that dialed in like that on what you can do with this plant.
Yeah.
Being a grower, growing in a trap for 20 years and then walking into this and like I said, your numbers, your quality, your everything, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The change that happens.
How's the business side? You guys are distributing in how many shops? What are you guys doing there?
0 shops, all wholesale right now.
All
we're
wholesale?
only 8 months in.
Okay. So no brand, you're just selling bulk?
Yeah, we're working on that real soon.
Okay.
Yeah, real soon.
Yeah. So for me, Wildtown got created by an accidental pollination that I had so I started buying seeds. And I was a big fan of Capulator. I ended up getting his Mac cut, right? And Mac
the veg is so slow.
It's the worst.
It's the worst, dude.
And dude,
They hit like a
Bones was,
4 or 5 week veg to get a normal 2 week veg.
Bones
plant.
was like, dude, I'm done. I'm like, dude, I got to conquer this thing. I got to figure it out. And I found out that thing hates water. It does not like water at all. And once I figured that out, I'm like, oh, this thing's growing, right? But I was a big fan of Cap because of his personality.
So it likes harder drybacks, or
It just doesn't like water
content.
It just does not like water.
He would, 100 mLs a day on a 6-inch block. And he would get a 3-week veg out of Mac that would get it big enough to grow. Like to throw in a room.
That's the secret.
Yeah. So I was stoked on. So I love Max gear. So I went. So I was following him and our Cap's gear, and then so I bought Big Chills. I bought Jungle Cake, and something else. So so this is my first seed hunt I'm doing, and so.
But you did it on accident, or you did it? No.
So I bought those seeds, and so I had 2 keepers of the Big Chills, right? And so now I put it in my room, and the room goes off, dude. Like and now, mind you, back then we run 6-7 strains in a room in a 12 lighter because it's easier to offload a couple pounds of each one than having a whole bunch, for at that time for me. And dude, it hermed on me, and I didn't catch it. And I'm like, oh fuck, dude, what the fuck? And my whole thing is dusted, but I had 7 strains in there. And then I was like, oh man, I can't believe you guys didn't catch this, but it was back in the back, and I cut it and put it in a bag. And then one of my guys showed up and was like, oh, let me check it out. And he's just all like that. I'm like, dude, you're dusting it again. What are you doing? I even went in there with fresh water and sprayed them because I heard that would stop the pollination, right? Because I didn't want it to happen. Dude, that room had so many seeds, everything. Mm-hmm. And, and I'm just growing. I had no idea that. I'm like, you know what? Let's just take 100 seeds of each one, separate them from each strain, and then I'll just see what happens. And so,
but keep in mind, at that time, it was a massive hit. Because that entire room was trash, and was Mike's entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, dang, dude, oh my gosh. And then so I'm like, okay, hey, I'm going to pop these things, dude, and see what happens, And so I did every strain. I did 21 of each one. They were all feminized. Now, mind you, I kept that plant that hermed. I run it still to this day, never hermed again.
Weird.
And so I came, so with that, I'm like, dude, this shit's fire. Right. So I had Big Chills was the dad, the herm, right? So I had Ice Cream Cake. I had Big Chills again. I had Apple Sorbet. I had Gorilla Glue or Unbroken Chain, and Apples and Bananas. There's something else. Oh, and Stank. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then so I popped these seeds. I'm like now going through my first hunt, and while I was doing all this stuff, I was reaching out to Tsunami Seeds, right?
Yeah.
Because I've known him since he was a young kid. And so he was guiding me through how to, do it, and get these seeds popped. And I'm like, dude, this shit's pretty fucking fired, And so, and then me and Easy Voss, we always talk too about growing, and talking about stuff like Aaron and he would come by and check the spot, and he's like, dude, this shit's fucking fire. I'm like, you want it, bro? He's like, yeah, let me take it over to the facility and show the boys, dude. And so I gave him the one Big League Chew and glazed ice. And they're like, dude, they love it. It's cool. Juice is fired up.
Now you got Jungle Boys running your crosses.
Are you serious? Because I know, I respect how they run their program. I don't care if a best friend in, whatever, dude. They ain't putting shit in if it ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was just like, really? Yeah, we're gonna give it a test run and see what's up. And then I started seeing logos getting printed. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. So they took the Big League Chew, the glazed ice, and the one. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I got 3 strains now that they're running.
Are they still running them today?
I still think they run the Big League Chew.
Okay.
And I know they still have the inventory, but
they switch out a lot.
Yeah.
They switch out a lot.
But I still see the Big League Chew come up. I still see glazed ice, their live rosin pens and stuff.
That's awesome.
So I was fired up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So funny story on that.
That says a lot about.
Oh, dude, I was blown away. So I really got into the breeding program like that. So then I was like, I'm going to reverse the one I'm gonna reverse it and hit some of my other favorite flavors. And so I did that, but reversing, this is new to me. I didn't get a lot big pollination. Like, I got maybe 15 seeds or something off a plant. So those are my personal ones that I've been working. It's a year process.
Yeah.
To go through all this stuff, and to make sure. So with that, I crossed Gypsy Road with the one, and I call it Gypsy King. That's the one I showed you there. And one of the seeds, now these are femmes, one of the seeds came out as a full-blown male. I'm like, what's going on here? And then somebody told me, like, that's like 1 in 10,000 for that to happen. I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm going to breed with it, and see what happens. So I took all those new strains, plus a couple of my other favorites, and I just bred with it. And now I'm going through that process. So I got like 18,000 seeds. So I'm going to launch my first seed drop.
Nice.
But before I do that, I got to test
them.
So I put 158 plants in. I think right now I'm at 158. I'm like 50%, like 70 of them are females. The rest are males. And so now I'm like running them and I put them into 4x4x2s and just put them on the side of my thing and put a dripper in them so that they stress out so I can see if they herm, all that stuff before I can release it. Because I'm really proud of how my creation of Wildtown is going.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not going to put anything that's out there and just, it's not all money and good money.
No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Right. So with that strains, I want to backpedal is that when I came up with the glazed ice, JJ hit me up, right? And he's like, hey, bro, you should enter the Farmer's Cup. Right. And this was, I think, 3 years ago, I think it was. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, you should enter it. I'm like, yeah, I'll enter that shit, So I put in my glazed ice, dude, and we went there and we're hanging out at Athena. And now, mind you, I don't like to, like, I smoked weed at the event, right? And I smoke weed, I go to bed. That's what I do. Like my weed smoking was always for me to help me sleep because I had really bad injuries from the Marine Corps. Right. And I've always associated smoking weed with going to bed. So anytime I'm like just like a zombie, I'm like Dodo. Right. And so I'm high as fuck. And they called that I won.
Oh, shit.
And they're calling me like 4 times, I'm like, I got best smokability for glazed eyes. And I'm walking up there like fucking Boo the Fool. Like, didn't even know what's going on, dude. I was like, oh my God. And
class.
Oh, dude. That was the same thing that happened the first time I went to BizCon. So I got invited by Hydrorax from and so I went there and everybody was up top, all the heavy hitters, Roach, everybody, and they're all smoking Big League Chew. And I'm all, dude, look at everybody fucking smoking my shit, dude. I'm fired up, dude. I'm gonna smoke with them, dude. I'm all hitting the shit with them. Next thing I know, I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, dude. I'm like tripping. Like, dude, I'm walking around Vegas for 8 hours by myself. Went to fucking, I'm like, I'm hungry. I see Nobu. I'm all sushi, cool. Sat down, ate 5 pieces, like $800 bill. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So I realized that when it comes to work events and stuff like this, that I have to be on my game.
100%.
And no more smoking me at the events. It was pretty funny, dude.
That's why you save it till the evening.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
No,
so it was funny. But
did you call Chris, the guy I connected you with?
Yes. We got into a text message with each other, and so we haven't talked.
Because I know we talked about you were talking about breaking things down on a more personal level, more like this.
Yes.
And we'll see, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, it all comes down to all the, what's it take to get to that level, right?
Yeah.
So, last year I was supposed to do a lot more advertising, more marketing stuff for Wildtown. But in July, I got hit hard. Mm-hmm. I got robbed for 2 rooms and a dry room. And that was a big hit.
Yeah.
And that's what I talk about this community. When you surround yourself with like the right people, like as soon as I got robbed, JJ called you right away, instantly had nutrients to me.
Yep.
Right away.
Yeah.
No questions asked. Give him a couple months so I can get back on this.
Yep. 100%.
How do you, you know what I mean? That's like that stuff like that. Like some people are like, oh, that's cool, whatever. But that's real life stuff. And that stuff for me, I take to heart. Like there's the loyalty, and it would never changed because of stuff like that. That's human. That's friends, family, and business
It's
all
the
tied into
community.
100%.
It's all of us.
And that's how it should be. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that too, because I don't think either of us would be here if it wasn't for you guys, and especially JJ. And you,
that.
you know, but,
No, 100%.
but the whole team. But, you know, right after COVID, prices tanked. I had gotten hit at like 400 lights of trap. I had about 550 lights, and all the trap spots I had left. I was building this new facility, and I just decided, like, you know, hey, instead of splitting this with Mike, like, let's let it help his family. The prices tanked so hard, you know, so I was like, I'm going to step back. I'm going to chill. But now these guys had all the bills, you know, everything was on them. And there was about, you know, 5 or 6 of us in the close-knit family. And that was one thing that nobody had ever done for me, and still to this day has never done. But JJ, you know, hit me and Mike up and goes, hey, dude, I got RIP bags here. Come pick up these RIP bags, get you guys through this tough time.
That's super
and
cool.
That created a loyalty with you guys, you know, and like, not that we didn't have loyalty before that,
Yeah.
but that showed me a side that was like, you know, you just can't touch that.
No, I
You know?
appreciate
So
that.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, and it's really cool seeing the growth of everything, because we came in like at the perfect timing of everything. Like when everybody, like, you know, when Lux was just starting to get, you know, and then taking the Lux, we're like, dude, the fucking lights are insane. And then getting the nutrients, like, oh, dope. And then adjusting and growing with you guys at the same time. You can't put money on that, dude. That's
Yeah,
like unreal.
thanks, man.
Like, you know, and surrounding, like, JJ has become a really close friend. I mean, I met you at Ivan's, you know, at first before even.
At Ivan's birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, it says a lot that you guys were at Ivan's birthday. He doesn't have a lot of people that.
yeah. And like, I want to give one, he's probably going to hate that I'm going to share this, but one thing that I learned about Ivan. So when COVID came around, right, I got hit hard. I was dying. So
From
I got
COVID.
Yeah. So I was doing all the,
No way.
yeah, I was doing all the ivermectin, you know, all the stuff to get better. But I was just like, and I was going to personal doctors, because I'm through the VA. I went to the VA, they gave me fucking cough medicine. Right. And so I started doing all this stuff on the side. And then I was finally down. I was getting down to like 52% lung capacity. And I was going to this private thing.
What the fuck?
And
52%?
And Ivan's like, Ivan hit
You were
me.
down at 52%.
Yeah.
He was on ventilators.
No, I didn't get to ventilator
Yeah,
yet. But
almost.
at home, I had my own machine. I bought, like, the fishing community came in. Somebody brought me a air machine to put stuff in.
52% is insane.
Yeah. So
You're on the verge of dying.
Yeah. So Ivan texts me. He's like, bro, whatever you do, just right now, go to Hogue. And I go, bro, I'm the VA. I don't have the insurance for that. He's like, bro, go to Hogue. I'll pay for everything. So I went to Hogue. And as soon as I went into Hogue, they're like, you know, because I didn't take the vax, right? They're like, you fucking anti-vax. And I'm like, dude, I'm fucking dying here, guy. Like, you're going to talk to me about this? So anyway, so the head of EDC, is it EDC, right?
I have no idea.
CDC?
CDC, yes, right? He comes down. He's my doctor. He's all, I need to contact your wife. So she gets on FaceTime. He's like, your husband's dying. If we don't do experimental medicine, he'll probably be dead by tomorrow. So what do you want to do? I'm like, do experimental medicine, right? So the funny thing was that doctor saved my dad's life 15 years beforehand.
15 years earlier.
Yeah.
How? What?
He got C. diff and was dying, and he saved him.
Same exact doctor.
Yeah, same exact doctor. I go, do you remember my dad? He's all, oh yeah. Because my dad was tattooed head to toe, and he was a character, right?
Yeah.
And so I get put into this room. And now this is the blessing part, is because I'm an experiment now, all bills are covered.
Oh.
Right. So I'm like, fuck, you know, but if it wasn't for Ivan, dude, I would have never went. I would have just went to,
You could be dead right now.
Now, mind you, I caught this COVID at a Christmas party from a baby. The host of the party, she caught it as well. She went to, what's the what's the hospitals with the ones that are on Irvine and stuff? What's it called? Kaiser. She went to Kaiser. She died. So now I'm in the, he said, you're going to be in this hospital for 14 to 18 days. So I went in and bro, it was pretty brutal the first, I'm a very like positive, I crack jokes, we draw dicks everywhere. You know what I mean? Like we're just comedy. And I was like it was hard to breathe, bro. Like I was like fucking, like I pushed buttons, nobody would come. And I was like, fuck, dude, this is like really bad. And
it's all right.
You ever think about when you die, who shows up for you?
Yeah.
I got to see it, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
So with that being said, after like day 2, I really started to concentrate on how I could breathe because the doctors wouldn't come in to help me because I would have panic attacks.
How long were you in there? 18 days?
No, I ended up getting out at 9. The medicine worked so amazing.
What did they give you?
I'd have to look it up, but one is for a heart transplant that patients use. There was one medicine they couldn't give me because I developed blood clots from the dude. I had like my eyes were full of blood because of coughing so bad that I blood vessels. So I ended up getting down to 42% acute lung failure. Both lungs failed. But I just.
Who showed up for you?
Everyone. Fishing community, weed community, all my bones, everybody, like they took over my spots. They made sure my shit was sold. They made, Ivan's wife was bringing food over to my wife. Just people were bringing food over, making sure my kids were good. Everybody, which told me that I'm living a fucking good life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You got good friends.
Yeah.
And to get those good friends, you got to be good people.
Right. And they're really fucking cool. Yeah. Like, and it's just stuff you just never forget. Like, no matter what, dude, like you just, that like, sometimes you go in life and you just get in this thing and you're just like, oh my God. But bro, like when you have that, like it drives you.
No, when your health is.
Yeah. It's, and that just taught me too. Like I had to really like, cause if I die, like, I tell my kids and everybody when they were growing up once a month, I go, because I've seen a lot of people with their family member or somebody dies and they fuck their life up because of that. You know what I mean? They use that as an excuse. Yeah. I grow up telling my kids once a month, hey, I could die. Don't fuck your life up.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
That ain't what I want, And so that was a close one. You know what I mean? And
it's a helpless feeling like during that COVID time. I don't know. Did you have anybody close to you get it really bad?
Nobody that was really close. I mean, my mom got it pretty bad, but she was able to pull out of it.
So you're fine. You're healthy. Mike's dying and you can't see him. The hospitals don't let you in. Your best friend in the world is dying. And you're just sitting back, FaceTime him once a day when he feels like he can actually talk for a second, and then watch him coughing chunks of his lung up. And like we're sitting back at the grow, just like living our life, like not even going to see our boy. You can't go see him.
Yeah.
And, and we're just sitting there and I'm like, everybody's asking me all day. And I'm like, I don't know if he's going to make it. And this was over 5 days.
Yeah.
Went from Mike drawing dicks on my car window to 5 days later, he's almost dead and I can't go see him.
Yeah.
And so watching how fast the medicine worked really was the craziest part. Cause it was one day. Nikki, his wife, called me and told me, hey, he's going on this experimental medicine, this and that. These are the things they're doing. These are the steps they're taking. The next day, Mike's FaceTiming me, talking pretty normal. I think it's working, man. I feel way better.
Thank God Ivan told you to go there.
Bro. It's something I'll never forget.
Yeah, 100%.
He can call me at any time of the day the rest of his life.
Yeah. 100%.
But it was so crazy because the nurse that brought me in was this Filipino lady, and she brought me in. When she showed up, like I think it was day 7, she walked into the room and she just started crying. I go, "What's wrong with you?" She's like, "I didn't think I was going to see you ever again." And I was like, fuck, dude. Like, it was like that gnarly. And like, because afterwards, like by day 2, I was pretty like feeling sorry for myself and having all these thoughts and stuff like that. But by day 3 and 4, I'm like, I got to get back to myself. So I had thank God I had a phone, because I started posting jokes, got the red thing on your thing doing ET and, drawing dicks in the room. I mean, I just had to get back to my spirit again, get my life back. Yeah. And so that was a big lesson too. And then learning how to breathe. And, a lot of stuff is really mental. You really got to get mentally like strong, and especially in this game that we play, dude, in life, fathers, all this. Dude, the pressure that we have, not only, you have businesses, you have employees, you have your wife, you got your kids, you got all this stuff that everybody depending on you. It's a lot of fucking pressure.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to build that strength and surround yourself with like-minded people, that's the key thing, dude. You're fucking around people that are negative all the time, get them the fuck out, dude, because that's going to ruin you.
Yeah, 100%. Do you feel like that was a big reason why you took a turn in health and really started focusing on your overall health, or did that come later?
That came later, because I was still like, now I had to get back to work, right? So you get back to work, get back on the grind, get back financially set, and then, you get robbed, things start happening, right? It's just part of this game, and one thing that I'm very proud of myself about doing is that there's no excuse. There's a way to get it out. Like you have to adjust. You have to hustle. You have to figure it out.
Yeah.
What else am I going to do? This is what I do, So, yeah. What'd you want to say?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
No, I got a lot of respect showing up and taking care of your boy's grows while he's going through that, while everybody's coming together, It's awesome.
There's no
to
choice,
hear,
That's what we do.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, no. This was really cool.
Like
I said, I want to just, if I can, give a couple shout outs to people that over these years have really, the family's getting bigger, right? And the people that we associate with is great. First of all, I want to thank you and JJ. Like we already spoke on it. It's been amazing. The support, the friendships, everything it's A1. You can't,
Thanks, man.
Can't do that. And then, and then a couple years at BizCon, I met Andrew from Extreme Farming.
Yep.
Another great family guy.
Yeah, he's good people.
Like he's helped us out amazing with pricing that he's getting. The service that he's getting is crazy, right? And then
I don't think too many people in the industry are very happy about that.
Yeah.
But he's crushing it.
Yeah.
He's
doing a great job.
What separates him from everybody else, in my opinion, is like, I don't know how you are, but I'm super researched on everything I do. So like what gloves I use, what turkey bags I use, and you can call Andrew at any point in the day and he's already done all that research.
Yeah.
So if I go, Andrew, I need gloves, he goes, okay, I got you. Like, there's no question, like if you have a problem with something, hey man, these turkey bags are weird. Oh, well, yeah, because you're using that one. You asked me for that one, so I gave you that one. You should be using this one, and I love that. I don't have to do the, 8 years of trial and error.
He's really involved in his business.
He is.
Yeah. And he's a family guy just like us.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Align, his son is the owner of the company though. That kid, he is the great.
Yeah. He's a cool kid.
Dude,
I posted that video on Athena once I saw it. I was like, legend.
He's amazing.
Dude.
Yeah.
He really just makes you just realize that, dude, that's what life is.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a character for sure.
And then, we met some really cool people on the internet too. OM Grows, he's Four Light Phil, he's great, dude. He's a great marketing guy too. And he's doing his thing too. And then, it's really cool, especially I did these seeds and stuff and I sent seeds to kids in New Zealand and they're crushing and they're starting to do some stuff out there. And it's really cool. And I just did like this competition or a contest to win my strain, my glazed ice or the one or big league chew for people with 4 lights or under. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
And because it just, those are the, dude, they get a strain, like, you
That's
know.
where we all came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's cool to see it kind of evolve on a global level because, we're sitting right here in Southern California, right where it all, right, or Northern and California in general, right where it all started.
yeah.
And
And
24 years ago, I was not able to go to a hydro shop and buy a grow light. I was tying a rope to my bumper. This building still stands and the light is still missing. I tied a rope to my bumper of my Jetta. I was like 20 years old. I wrapped the rope around a light while I was on at night, like midnight, ripped the light off, dragged it down the street, threw it in my trunk, took it home, wired it up, and that was my first grow light. Yeah. To today, we're sitting in this crazy room, with,
and talking openly.
Yeah. Talking
Yeah.
openly is cool.
Yeah. It's
yeah,
cool.
I even look back at, that was where, maybe I came a little too early, because I look at like Ivan and like these guys that are on the forums and I'm like, you got on a computer and like logged into a site
THC
and like
farmer,
zero
learned it out.
chance,
Yeah.
zero chance. Like, until I got my, like, I don't think I posted an Instagram picture ever until right around COVID, probably.
Yeah, it was pretty close. Once I had that, like, 'cause we were sitting at, it was when everything, the market tanked, right? So I just put $250,000 into my last spot. I was going to buy a house. I'm like, dude, I got this opportunity. I'm going to build this thing like the Jungle Boys. I'm going to have light movers. I'm going to have everything. And I did it. And then the market fucking dumped. I'm like, oh my God.
And then it rallied.
And then, so then I was sitting at BizCon with Ivan. I'm all, Ivan, like, what do you think? Like, because he had me talk to somebody saying that, what do you think about getting in the game now? I'm like, bro, it's hard, bro. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, unless you just go set up a little spot for your own, but don't try to get into big because it's not the time. So I was asking Ivan and he's like, bro, you got to market, you got to create the brand, and then you got to hold on to your strains that are limited, right?
Yeah.
And make people want them. And so with that, I'm like, okay, now, so that was the second time he told me that, right? So, and I just started Wildtown, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going in, right? So now I'm doing, and I'm showing everything, and I wonder if I kind of think sometimes, like, did I post too much and people were following me, and that's how they got me? They kind of like put shit together, you know what I mean? Where the spot was, and and they're like flying heat drones now and all this shit, you know what I mean? So
Criminals are frying heat drones.
and bro, these guys were good. This wasn't a mob that came in. It was 2 guys, chopped 2 rooms and a dry room out in 28 minutes.
Jeez, dude.
I told everyone at work because they chopped it well. Cut all the zip ties on the trellis, took a sawzalled all the bases, rolled it up like a burrito. One guy carried it out on his shoulder.
Yeah.
That was 1 tray, maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Next tray, 2 minutes. Next tray, 2 minutes.
These guys had it down.
And we heard that they have a warehouse that they dry it in and trim it in.
And then send it to New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
Yeah.
I get mad because I'm like, every time I've been robbed 30 times. And every time it's like, I would rather you just come knock on my door and ask me for 10 grand, because you're going to cause more damage than good. And you're never going to end up getting that weed to market.
Yeah.
So, I guess at least those guys got it to market.
And it was fire too. Oh my God. So I had new strains that I'm like, oh God.
And what do you do at that point? You can't call the cops.
No, you can't do nothing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that, and then, and the other thing I want to point on before I know we're closing up, but I really like that Farmer's Cup that's coming on, bro. Like that's a real, I started, I think, on their second competition that they had or whatever, and I won the first one. And ever since then I've been placing, which has been so exciting.
Yeah. Are you going to enter any others?
So I entered the one in Vegas.
Okay.
The Connect.
Connect
one,
Cup.
right? Yeah. So I entered gas and candy. I end up, I guess it's a participation trophy, but I got 5th.
Okay.
Right. I don't know if it's a participation because I beat other people, but for me to even get recognized on somebody because I'm known in my mind and people that surround me are known, but I'm not known. Right. And so for me to enter a strain that I created and to get 5th, you know, like I was like stoked. I'm like, all right, cool. That's like, now it's starting to go. And so now I'm going to start entering more as I get my strains dialed in and stuff like that. I'm entering as many as I can because I really enjoy it.
Why don't you enter Spannabis this year?
I might. I won't be able to go there though.
We could just we can give this to Taylor and she can get it out there for you.
Yeah.
You know, enter it into Spannabis.
Yeah.
Is there one of these that you like the best?
Yes.
Which one?
Oh, I mean, I'd probably. It depends on what's the. I don't know what the categories are.
I'll find out and then we'll see what.
Yeah, because I have some other ones that are just like, so for like highest THC, like if I throw Stank in there, it's gonna win every time. It's like hits like 38.
You can enter a few.
Yeah.
So
and to do it with my strains that are, you know,
that you pheno hunt, that you
either I pheno hunted or I crossed and did.
That's next level.
Yeah. And then we entering the hash game, right? So I have NoCo oils, and he's became the guy who does my washing for me. And so we won with my Jody, we won with Stank and Papaya. We won, I think, 4 different awards on the washing side now.
Nice.
And so it's exciting. Like, and I'm very competitive, but I'm very competitive with myself, not against, like no hating on anybody. Like I want to just, as long as I know I did my best and put my best in, and if I fucking win, that's very satisfying.
Yeah.
And it shows my kids, you know what I mean? Like that, hey, look, first competition, I'm gonna work my ass off to grow fire. I'm gonna put it in there. And I try to tell them the same thing, you know, like, dude, you got to put the work in, you got to put the time in. And if you can, dude, you can be successful no matter what time, what age, whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
So
100%.
So it's really cool to experience that. And so they're having their Farmers Cup in March. And that's gonna be a huge event there.
Yeah, it's cool. It's in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
I like that because San Diego is the community, even though there's not a lot of cultivation there right now, and there hasn't been, but it's cool that it's.
Well, it seems like the city's now like supporting, like now they're like, they're allowing them to do in a public forum, like, you know, not hiding out into warehouses, whatever they did before. But I've been to a few competitions. This one's like really fun.
Yeah.
Like it's just a good vibe.
Yeah, everybody there is fun. Like, I met some great people there. You know, you get to see old friends and
Nice.
I did want to say too, like the whole community and all the people within it, you know, it's amazing now, like where this community has come, you know, between like you guys, Athena, you know, all the vendors, Andrew at Extreme, you know, Hydro Racks, Eric over there is the best guy on earth, you know, but it's cool to watch how like not only our team has grown, you know, but the everybody within it, you know, it's not like I call you like once every 2 months and order Athena. It's like, no, we're friends.
Yep.
You know, and like that's how I always wanted to run my business, you know, and to be able to do that every single day and go into work and grow weed. You know, is
life's short. You got to enjoy who you're doing it with.
That's it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
So
really sick. Yep. This was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I had a great
Appreciate you
time.
guys.
Yeah. I was a little nervous. This is my first podcast ever.
Yeah, I was nervous for the first few ones, and then I kind of figured it out, I guess.
I did a lot of fishing podcasts back in the day.
Okay, so you're used to it.
Yeah, so it's cool. And then, you know, storytelling is fun, especially if it's bad. Like sometimes, like for me, talking about the stuff with my dad and all this stuff, it's like you can use that as an excuse to fail, or you can use that to learn and grow.
Yeah, but it's good to talk about it also because it, you know, reminds you of where you came from, and it's humbling in a certain point.
100%.
You know, it's important to remember. Sometimes you forget, right? And then when you bring it up and talk about it, it'll stay with you.
Yep.
And it's good.
And not only that, somebody else could hear my story that might have a similar one and take parts.
Find a common ground for sure.
Yeah, because that's how we learn. Like, you know, my wife used to hated me. Like, you talk to somebody. Like, yeah, well, I talk to people that I respect, and I'm going to take how they would do it, and I'll take the parts that fit for me.
That's
like,
why we do these podcasts.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with growing, dude. Like, you know, what people got to understand, every spot is different. Like what Bones said, how to do irrigation might not work as much. It could be a baseline, but then you're going to have to adjust as you watch your plants go, you know. It's the same thing with me.
Pick somebody. This is what I always teach every person. I've taught a lot of people how to grow weed over the years. if you have the best, pasta or sausage and pepper recipe, your grandma makes the best sausage and peppers on earth, and she gives you that recipe and passes it down to you. Don't change it. You grew up loving that dish, and now you're going to go in and you're going to go to the guy at the hydro shop and he's going to tell you to add, this and that. Like, no, if it's working, just leave it as it is. It's real simple.
Yeah, leave it as
it
is, but you can adjust your climate and irrigation
once you get
strategy.
good.
Yeah.
Once you get good
got it
enough,
down.
sure, adjust all you want. But, the biggest mistake I see is, the guy at the hydro shop sends them home with something new and, hey, everything's yellow, everything's, stick to what I told you to do.
Yeah.
Pick somebody, that's my best advice. Pick somebody that you like, whether it's, Roach or Seatown Gabriel or Mike, and follow to a T what they do.
Yeah.
Ask them questions. Mike will respond to you.
Yeah, hit the DM.
Yeah, hit the DM and hit up Mike, Hit me up. I'm more than happy, and, let's just, whoever's left for the most part at this point is pretty good.
Yeah. You have to be.
So at this point, I'll just end it on this because I know we got to wrap this up. But when you say what's going to make you successful at this point, generally all the facilities I walk now, people are great growers. Versus 5 years ago, that wasn't the case. When I used to go to Oklahoma, the licenses were 9,900 licenses. Today, that was 2 years ago. Now there's 3,000. So whoever's left is surviving, and they're probably a pretty good grower. So what's going to help you make it? Genetics. Having unique genetics, whatever that is, that nobody else has. In-house genetics, exactly what Mike's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you.
Thanks.
Thank you.